My partner's stuck. How hard should I push?
Here we are again, Brannon.
Here we are again, just doing our thing.
Yeah. 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 So
Yeah.
I'm excited just to kind of jump in and get rolling again. We've got,
I got a recent favorite guest here, so it's good to have Buzz here. Buzz, welcome back.
Yeah, great to
Buzz
be
is
here.
back on the show. I wasn't here for the first one. If anyone's listening and wants to know, he was on I think it was episode 380. So for reference, if you want to kind of know some of the more backstory, episode 380 is Buzz's episode.
Yeah.
So
So Buzz, let's just kind of dive in with what's going on now and where you're at. If you could give us a little bit of background and fill us in from last time we talked until now.
Sure, Brandon, that's great. So since we talked last time, we acknowledged the fact that my partner needs to get into some recovery to deal with the trauma from my addiction, which I'm in recovery for right now. And so I gave it a rest. I waited a month exactly before I approached her again and said, so last time we spoke a month ago, you said you knew you needed to get professional help to deal with these trauma issues because you knew that the marriage, our relationship, because we're in a non-physical relationship, in order for those to heal, you needed to get some um, trauma recovery. And so I asked, so how's that going? How's that working for you? And she's like, well, to be honest with you, I haven't done anything. She says, I right now with homeschooling our kids and being a wife and a mom and dealing with some other family issues, I just don't have the emotional capability to do this right now. Just can't. The idea of adding one more thing to my plate is just like, nope, yeah, I can't do it. So I was like, I said, I'm gonna put this in man terms. What I just heard was, yeah, you got a lot of things going on, and I empathize with that. I feel you. But the house is burning down. My relationship has cancer, and there's a doctor that can help it. I just got to go get the treatments, but I don't have the energy right now to to go get fixed, to go get the help what we need, even though you know where this is headed if we don't. I said, that's what I heard. Is that what you meant? And she was just kind of like, well, take it how you want to, but I just don't have I mean, and none of this stuff is stuff that you can take because I asked her, so what of these can I take off of you? Can I help with to take some of the load off so that you have room to do this? And she's like, well, I mean, I can't see you teaching school. You can't be the mom. You can't, all this stuff is just you can't handle this load. So I'm at the point right now that I've tried to gently bring it up a couple of times and I still get the same result. Because nope, you're just gonna have to let me deal with this in the way and in the time that I want to. And in the meantime, basically, you don't have any say so. How hard do I get to push? When do I get to gently say, okay, this needs to happen? Because I can't live in this dynamic forever. And my kids don't need to grow up seeing that this is what a marriage looks like. There's been some improvements since then, since that date. I actually talked her into going to a vertical marriage class at my church this week, and she went in kind of cold, kind of off, standoff. But we got something out of it, I think, because there's been just a tad of a change this week. So we had some. But the rest of the time, as far as going into therapy, she's like, no, I don't have time. I just don't see how I'll squeeze it in on top of everything else I got, even though I know that we're screwed if I don't. So that's
Buzz,
where I'm.
why do you think she prioritizes it lower than other things?
I don't know. I asked her that, and as a mother, I know it's her instinct to prioritize her children and her and domestic needs over relationship needs. I've seen that a bunch of times. And where me as a man, my emotional needs are straight towards my wife. She's like top of my totem pole, and where with her as a mom, her kids are on the top, not me. And I understand that dynamic. Do I accept it? It's hard. It's hard to accept, but that's why I'm here. What can I do? What do I do to change this attitude
Yeah.
without seeming like a bully?
Right.
It's a tricky question, and I think there's a couple of just factors that need to be put out there on the table that we need to make sure that we're sensitive to. One is that there's probably at least two or three layers to this that need to
Mhm.
be navigated. One is that if I'm understanding right, part of what might be going on, whether it's spoken or not, is that you're in a position where you don't feel like you have a lot of footing in the relationship because you've done a lot of the damage.
Yeah,
And now you're saying, well, I love her and I don't want to stay stuck here. And I also want us to move forward, but I don't feel like I have a leg to stand on. And she might feel that way a little bit too.
yeah, very
Um,
much.
so that's one. The second thing is that it is true that sometimes, especially when life has been rough, that you feel burned out and tired and you don't feel like you have the energy to put into another thing, right? And
Right,
especially when the thing that you would be dumping into is going to actually be difficult. It's not like going to therapy always has you leaving singing kumbaya and going like, man, I got my energy tank is full now. It's actually a challenge and a struggle and a wrestle to do that kind of work. So it would make sense that she could be feeling definitely overwhelmed. She could also be feeling a little bit, maybe some resentment that might still be underlying that the more you press, the less she kind of wants to engage. Um, and then there's also the other perspective of uh, being in the betrayal side of things. Sometimes it feels like it's not fair or right that I would have to go and engage, even though I know I probably need the help. So if that's the case, then it also feels frustrating that the person who hurt me is now the one telling me that I'm not doing my work and that I need to hurry up and engage and do this stuff.
right.
And so there might be some resistance there as well.
I've detected some of that. I mean, I got raw and vulnerable pretty much with her this week about needs, with something we've been talking about. And I just said emotionally, I'm one of these guys that I don't like to, when I'm in a group of men, I don't like men to touch me. Sit next to me, don't pat me on the leg or put your arm around me. I'm like, no, leave that stuff at the house. But when I'm at home, I crave my wife's touch. Just a hand on my shoulder, hold my just spontaneous, just give me a hug. I crave that touch. And I just shared that with her. I said, I'm scared to talk to you about this because I feel like I'm going to be like it's not going to be validated to you. And but I crave this connection, just a meaningful hug of hey, I need to give you a hug. Would you like a hug? I'll be like, yeah, awesome, let's do it. And it go no further than that. And she was like, yeah, I can understand that, but if you feel like you're not bringing any emotional value to this relationship, then you need to find a way to build your own emotional value. And I'm like, yeah, how do you do that? How do you build your own emotional value? And just kind of So it's just whenever I bring things up like this, it's just kind of she withdraws and kind of pushes back of like kind of seems to take the devil's advocate view on things. Like I mean, this morning I was talking about something we learned in the marriage class, and she says, "Well, let's look at it. I'm gonna be the devil's advocate." And I stopped her and I said, "Why? Why is it every time I want to talk about something positive, you want to blow holes in it and find all the problems with it?" And she said, "Well, that's constructive criticism." I was like, how about we be on the same team and then we'll look at it to look at it. Well, let's look at the other side of the story. And it just seems like it's constant pushback.
Why do you think that is?
I don't know. I asked her that this morning, and I just asked her. I said, Why do you always like anytime I want to talk about something, you automatically go to the other side of the courtroom and take the other bench, and can't be on my side of the stand. It's and look at things objectively from both of our points of view as a team. We're don't there's not much team here. There's individual, you're individual, and then me individual, and there's no team. And the team is what I'm desiring, what I want to see. reestablished is the we're individuals that make a coupleship, if that makes any sense. But
Yeah, I
I so I don't know where the pushback is coming from. I think some of it is resentment, like you said. The you put me through 12 years of hell. Because she's told me before, I grew up thinking that if I did all these things right, I was a submissive daughter and I had the Christian walk all nailed right. God would give me a godly husband and somebody who would, lead me on further down and be this, this is what a godly husband looks like. She said, and I got none of it. I got you.
okay,
And I
so
think,
but Buzz, I want to
yeah,
cut you off for just a second and
sure.
ask maybe a hard question or cut down to the chase a little bit here.
That's great.
Some of the stuff that I'm wondering about. And I got to warn you, this might be hard to hear.
Yeah,
Um, so
but
I have a couple friends and even some past clients and things who were in a position where um the the healthier they got, the more their wife did not want to be close to them.
yeah,
Um, and the more work they did, the more it seemed like their relationship didn't progress. And what it came down to, what when we look at it, and they're like, what the heck? Like I thought a byproduct of this work that I was doing, it wasn't the expectation, but I thought a byproduct of it was that the relationship would follow, that the relationship would get better. And what it came down to in all of these cases is the wife didn't want a divorce because of stability with finances and kids and raising the kids. But the wife did not want to be in love or close to or married to him. And
we've
so
had that talk.
yeah, she wanted to stay married, but she didn't want to be intimate, close, all of those things. And the reality is she's fallen out of love with him. The betrayal took her so far that it's like I don't desire to work on our marriage. Um, I don't desire to get close to you again. I don't want to do that. And so I can play along and act like I do a little bit. I can go to this marriage class but again and again and again, Buzz, you're getting the answer that she's not really interested. Um, and if she's not really interested, then the ball goes back to your court, and we look at it and say, okay, now if that's the hard reality, then what does Buzz do with that?
Yeah. We have had the I'm only in this because it's what's best for the kids conversation.
She's
We
told
we've
you. She's told you that.
Yeah, she told me that. Yeah, she told me I'll just be blunt with you. If it wasn't for the kids right now, we wouldn't be having this conversation. And that's
It's
just kind of like my Google search will look like how long do you stay together for the kids? I mean, because at the same time, I'm like, yes, I can
well,
see the kids need the stability and the two-parent house. Because she's like, I mean, during that conversation, it was like, do you agree that what's best for the kids is a two-parent household? I'm like, yes, but at what point do you tell the kids that this is not what marriage is supposed to look like? So don't
Buzz,
copy that.
can you see there's a level of denial that you're in,
Yeah,
and it's she's telling you I'm only in this for the kids, and then there's this other side of you that's saying I want physical touch. Like I really want to be wanted. I want a physical touch. And it's okay that you want physical touch. It's okay that you want intimacy. But there's a hard reality here that's really difficult to face, I think. And it's that she doesn't want to give that to you,
yeah.
right?
I mean, she already told me a while back that she went to visit her grandmother to get her heart settled out just to get some time away from me. And she said during that week of me being gone, I emotionally cut myself off from the relationship. She said it was what I had to do to keep from getting hurt, but I cut myself off emotionally from our marriage. And yeah, she just straight up told me that. She said I emotionally walked out.
Yeah.
And it's just I guess it's part of me saying, yeah, I know this, and there's part of me, there's days that I'm like, the best thing for me to do to grow as a person, to become the man I want to be, is to be out of this relationship, to just put it blunt, is me to go where I can grow. But at the same time, this is literally the only woman I've ever been with. Been with her for almost 19 years, and it's just like the idea of not being with her is just like I feel lost. I'm like, I don't know what I do with myself. But at
Mm.
the same time, I'm like, this is an untenable situation. And sometime you're gonna have to raise the flag up, say this doesn't work. We have to abandon ship. But then at the same time, it's you get her side of the family is going to be like her her sister, her one of her sisters, her second sister is going through a divorce right now. They're going to an attorney today because her husband was a serial cheater, and it's the second one that's been in porn or cheating and that they're dealt with. And I'm like, and none of her side of the family knows about our relationship. They think we're just all fine and great. And she's like, you know what would have happened if I told them what's going on right now? They would throw you to the wolves. And I'm like, yeah, and I hate living the lie at the same time.
Mm.
But there's part of me that just like, I've been in this relationship, been in this family for almost 20 years, known them since she was 7. And the idea of not being a part of this dynamic anymore, I'm just like, I don't know what I do.
So, Buzz, I just want to first acknowledge the heaviness of the situation for you and for your wife. And I
Yeah.
sense it. I can hear it in your voice right now. I can feel that from you. There's actually two questions that you're asking today. One is, how much do I push my wife to lean back in
Yeah.
and to do her work? Because you're really wanting her to do her work so that she can lean back in and you guys can move forward. That's the first question. But the second question that you're really asking is, how long do I stay before I read the writing on the wall as it is and make a different choice?
Yeah.
And the cool thing is that I think there's actually some answers to both questions, at least something to consider. So I want to read you a quote first, and then I want to share with you a couple of principles that might that might be part of the answer to both questions.
Yeah.
All right. So this first quote comes from David Deida, who is the author of The Way of the Superior Man, and it says, it's funny that you were describing this pattern with your wife because I think she actually might be playing her role perfectly. It says, the most loving women are the women who will test you the most. She wants you to be your fullest, most magnificent self. She won't settle for anything less. She knows it is true of you. She knows in your deepest heart you are free. You are Shiva, and Shiva is the word for masculine energy. Anything less than that, she will torment. And as you know, she's quite good at it. So basically, you just outlined a conversation where she's saying, what I'm aching for and longing for is real masculinity, and instead I have you. Now, that's a kind of a cutting thing to say. It's a kind of a hard thing to hear. If you could take the personal attack out of it, there might actually be something to consider as to like, how am I showing up in terms of real masculinity? And then it made me think of this other book. Brannon actually recommended it on the show, I think, in an episode just this week. It's called The Masculine in Relationship by G.S. Youngblood. And he actually addresses the very question of how long do I stay in a relationship with a woman before I need to move on because it's not going to work. And in that book, he actually says, until you master these three principles, when you master these three principles is when you know it's time to move on. And the first principle is to respond versus react, which means I have to learn how to stay steady and strong and stable inside of a hard conversation without getting defensive or without disappearing. I need to be able to respond and hold the energy that she's giving to me because at the core, she wants to know that she's with a man who can hold the energy that she has. And she's not going to unleash her femininity until she knows it's safe enough to do so. Um, the second one is to provide structure. And this is the part that's inside of your question. Like, how much do I push? How much do I a man who's in his strength, in his true masculine, he he's kind and loving, and he responds and doesn't react, but he also develops the idea of who he is, and then he stands in his values, and that provides structure, and eventually it becomes part of the boundaries work that he's doing inside of the relationship too. But he's doing it because it's the truth of who he is rather than trying to manipulate her or make her better or whatever else. And then the third principle is to learn how to create safety. And in our world, we have done a bad job of defining what creating safety means, because so many guys think creating safety means agreeing with your wife on everything and managing all of her emotions and always fixing her problems. That does not feel safe to a woman. Creating safety is actually standing in the truth of your authenticity, but then doing all of those things necessary physically and emotionally to show that it's okay that she can have her emotions, that you can handle, that she can say, I don't have that man right now. And you can hold it without going into like, yeah, you're right, I suck. Or, well, I am that man. It's like, no, like I see that you're hurting. And it's okay for you to have those feelings, and I can hold those things. Um, Once you master those three things, chances are you're actually going to save your marriage. But if you don't, that will be when you have that sense inside yourself that's like, it's time to move on. But it'll be a, it's time to move on sense rather than I'm exasperated, I'm a tired, I'm beat up, I'm a whipped puppy, I'm like whatever else. It'll be done from a place of knowing and strength rather than a place of like weakness. So I just said a lot there, Buzz. What are you thinking?
Yeah. Um, it's funny. Your second question was actually until just like 2 days ago after this marriage class was the topic of my question. What I wanted to come on today and talk about was this. I don't see a change. I don't see her desiring a change. She wants the dynamic to stay where it is. She wants to keep the power the way it is because she holds most of the domestic authority in the home. And at what point do I get to say this is not making me a better man and leave? So, but for what you're saying,
Well,
yeah, that's hard. That part,
What I meant,
yeah,
what I am saying is actually
yeah,
part of your work to try to invite safety in the relationship is to actually not,
right.
don't ask the question like, when do I get to say this? It's like, no, what is the right thing for me as a man and as her husband to say to provide structure, to provide safety? And that might mean having the conversation of, I can tell you're burned out, and we need to either have a real conversation as to, are you just truly burned out, or is this your way of avoiding having to lean in because you really don't want to do anything with the relationship? Um,
Uh,
to step
I,
into the strength of that conversation over and over again,
yeah,
instead of like, when do I get to have a leg to stand on? Do you hear the difference in that energy?
I do. Yes,
Yeah.
yeah. I kind of haven't brought that question up to her because I don't want it to sound like I'm being the, yeah, like you said. Well, at one point do I get to say I'm done? I don't want it to come across that. That's why I haven't brought it up because I'm like, that's not really what the vibe I want to give her. That, I'm just like, oh, I can't take this anymore. I put, because I've heard a bunch of times, I took hell from you for 12 years. You can take a little bit from me. And I'm like, yeah, that's true. That is so much truth in that. But at what
The
point go ahead. I'm sorry. I'm trying to think out loud.
Buzz,
My thoughts are all over the place.
I see a catch 22.
Yeah.
Um, and the catch 22 is what Tyler's saying is basically step further into your healthy masculinity. And I think if you were part of stepping into your healthy masculinity is having the strength enough to deal with truth, is to
Yeah.
deal with reality. And you said earlier, like, I know that if I were honest with myself, I would progress as a man better outside of this relationship than in it. And so what I'm hearing you say is um I have to manipulate myself in order to stay in this relationship. I have to play small. I have to be quiet. I have to be careful. I have to dance around things in order to, and that's the catch 22 is if you were honest, would you really be in the relationship? If you were honest with her, um and you step in a very healthy masculine way, compassionate, kind, but grounded and honest, would she then start being attracted to you? Maybe. Um, maybe she might actually be like, dang, like Buzz isn't like just like, what happened recently. It's like, but Buzz doesn't, he's not trying to like please me or show me something, or he's just being him. Like, what? I kind of like that.
Yeah.
Right. So it's like, it's almost like you gotta jump off the cliff to save yourself. That's how it feels. Do you understand what I'm saying?
I do.
Yeah.
I understand that a lot because there's so much of it, like you mentioned last time. There's so much of this I have learned to because of my negative behavior to spend my life walking on the eggshell to, okay, what can I do to not rock the boat today? What can I do to keep my wife happy? Because I've been such a negative influence that I think maybe I
You know what a better
overdo trying
you
to,
know what a better question is?
I'm a people pleaser. Just put it that way.
Buzz, you know what a better question that you
Yeah,
need to
go for it.
ask yourself instead is, and
Yeah.
and we talked about this last time some, but what can I do to show up as a man with integrity and honesty today, and compassion and love for my wife? So versus what can I do to not rock the boat?
Yeah.
Do you see that?
Right.
If you're, as long as you're stuck in fear and what can I do to not rock the boat, your wife will never want you.
I think I've taken some steps with that. Like I said, I mentioned, and then I mentioned about, me owning my authenticity with the um worship practice on Wednesday nights.
Uh-huh.
First
Love
time,
it.
first time, first time that happened, she said, "Oh, so what? We're now we're just doing that, regardless what kind of day. It's the hardest night of the week, and blah blah. You're just gonna run out and leave me here with the kids, and instead of being present and helping me." I was like, I looked at her, I said, "Well, I hate that you put it that way, but yeah, this is what I need to do tonight." And did some things around the house, helped out as much as I could until it was time to go. Then I left.
Yeah,
And
that
yeah,
but Buzz, so you nailed that.
That was perfect
Um,
masculinity in that
yeah,
moment.
yeah, but what I would just be careful not to be defensive, but like,
right,
you know what, honey, I need to do this and I'm going
yeah,
to. What can I do to lighten your burden since this is a sacrifice for you?
That's it. That's the piece
Right?
that
yeah.
was missing.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I did this week. This Wednesday is
Excellent.
I texted her from work. Hey, did you get supper figured out? No. Okay, well, don't worry about it. Leave it to me. So on my way home, I went to buy the grocery store and bought spaghetti and sauce and burger and meat and everything else. And I walked into the kitchen. She wasn't there. I walked in and put spaghetti on the side. I had supper on the table by the time I left. And
Nice.
yeah, just kind of she didn't expect it, but it was just like, I got this. I take care of it. And here's enough for the kids to bring to school tomorrow too. And here you go. And then I got home and I mixed up a couple dozen muffins and had those here. Kids can eat this for breakfast in the morning. Don't worry about it. And she later on said that taking some of that load off for me really really did a lot. And I was like, great, okay, I'm just trying to be a part of this partnership here and not an expense.
But at the same time, I'm gonna be me. I'm gonna be
Right,
Buzz. I'm what I feel
right,
like I need to do between God and I'm gonna do.
yeah,
And that's more important than what you think I should do. And you don't want to say it that way, what I just said,
yeah. No, I totally understand.
but that is more important. And that is what's crazy about this. Tyler talks about building safety with a woman. That's what starts to build safety because now you're showing up as an authentic, honest human being in the relationship. And she's like, holy cow, like, huh? Like, he's this guy that's loving on one end, but also like doesn't give a crap about what I tell him he should do. He knows himself.
Yeah.
That Buzz, that's it.
And
Now,
I have noticed some difference since I started this. There's more than one. There's a couple of areas that I've started doing this. That's you know this is the things that are real for me. So I will work it into to where I can be me without costing the family because I don't want it to be an expense. Cost the family for me to be me at the same time.
sure.
if that makes any sense.
Yeah,
Uh,
you make that assessment
yeah,
and that decision. You look at that,
right.
right? So it's
Yeah,
like, yeah, I'm not going to go spend a bunch of money on just like whatever I want,
that,
because you don't want to do that. You, like, because you're the father and the husband, and you're making that decision. Do you see what I'm saying? Not
yeah,
because she's cracking the whip and saying you better not.
yeah.
There's a another quote here. I'm giving you all the David Data quotes today, but
Go for it.
it
Good.
goes along with what Brandon's and you were talking about. It says everything in your life, from your diet to your career, must be aligned with your purpose if you are to act with coherence and integrity in the world. If you know your purpose, your deepest desire, then the secret of success is to discipline your life so that you support your deepest purpose and minimize distractions and detours. And where too many men get lost is they make their wife their purpose instead of pursuing and living their purpose. And what I like about what you just said is now you are more in your purpose when you're like, it is important for me to get to my worship. It's also important for me to provide for my wife. I know she's burned out. What I can do and what I will do is I'll make sure I stop and make sure dinner's taken care of and breakfast and lunches for the kids. And I'm going to do those things for her. And you even went to her and said, "Hey, how can I help take the load off so you'd have time to do your thing," right? So, but you're doing it based from, and this is where Brandon was going with you, based from the man you and God decide you want to be, rather than because it's going to placate her or whatever. And I'll
Right.
give you one more quote from him. It says, "One of the deepest feminine desires in intimacy is precisely not to have to always figure it out for her man and guide him." So, so she wants you to figure out how to make your own decisions, even though sometimes she might not agree with the way you get to your decisions. But if it's based in your purpose, that's authentic, and that's what she's really wanting is your authenticity.
Yeah. I think that's, yeah, I can see that. Where I struggle, I think, on that is the line between me being authentic and being selfish.
Yep.
Of it not coming across as I'm doing this because it's real to me versus as an addict, we're the most selfish people there are. I mean, me saying this is what I want to do because this is what I want to do, versus me doing this because this is meaningful.
I think
And
you gotta sort that out. I think
That's
yeah,
that's the wrestle of personal recovery work
yeah,
is am I operating according to my ego and defending my supposed honor, or am I doing this because it's connected to my greater purpose?
right,
And if I'm
yeah,
not doing my individual work as a man to find my greater purpose, then I'm going to get stuck in my ego way too much.
right.
so. I
Yeah,
want
well, yeah. Back to what you were saying about her noticing that this is like a little thing with me taking the gym membership. That was the other thing that she was like, "Yeah, where do we don't have the money for that. We don't have." I was like, "Well, I think we can. It's not that much a month, But this is something I need to do for myself because it builds health, makes me feel more confident about myself. Plus, I've got a PT test for a job interview coming up in a couple of weeks, and since then, I've gotten this kind of a begrudging, not saying a whole lot, but hey, the kids are in bed, I'm going to the gym, and I get a little from the bedroom. Good for you. And so it's just kind of is this acknowledgement of, yeah, I hate that you stood up for yourself, but I like what you're doing.
yeah, I love it. That's a great example. I love it. Um, I I want to give
Uh,
you I want to give you a
go for it.
story, a
Yeah,
scenario. It's kind of interesting. I was working with a couple years ago, and she got to this point where now he had betrayed her a lot,
yeah,
and she got to this point where she was done and she didn't want him anymore at all. And so I was working with her, and we were talking about, he would come over and certain boundaries would get crossed and things like that. And I was talking to her about having boundaries with him, and certain limits in terms of connection and boundaries. Now he came in, and I was talking to him, and he still wanted her. He wanted to fight for her. He wanted to stay married to her. He very much still wanted her badly. Um, so what do you think I told him? They had a couple kids together. do you think I said to him?
I don't know. I'm getting this sneaky suspicion you told him to back up.
I told him to fight like hell. I told him to I
Yeah.
told him like go after her. Now and so on the other end, I'm telling her to have boundaries with him. I'm telling her to so it's she came in and she's like, "What are you doing? What are you doing?" And I told her I said I'm telling him to step into what's truth for him, to his authentic self, and he wants to fight for your relationship and fight for your family. That's awesome. He should. Um, but if you are done and you that's awesome too. And you need to hold those boundaries still. And so it's a good thing for him to practice being honest. Now, at some point, and now with this couple, I felt like there was some hope still. I felt like she still kind of wanted him. Um, at some point, though, he's gonna have to face the hard reality. Okay, I'm beating my head against a wall trying to fight for her back, and this isn't happening. So now, what I need to do is face that reality and move forward, right? So it's a dialectic. What Tyler and I talk about. You can both fight like hell for her and come to terms with the reality of your situation and start to grieve at the same time. Continue to fight, continue to push, continue to tell her that, hey, I want our family to be together. I'm doing what I can. I'm getting healthy. And if the answer that she gives you is like, nah, not that interested. I'm out of love with you. I don't care. At some point, you're going to have to come to terms with that, right?
Yeah.
So do you see the struggle there that I'm talking about?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I've been that. I
Yeah.
find myself there frequently of this. Oh, I still desire this woman. I still love this woman deeply, but at the same point, I need to face the reality of, is there really a chance for me to beat my head through this wall?
Yeah, it's both and right now,
Yeah,
Buzz. And you're strong enough to stay in this place for a minute to see how it shakes out. But you
right.
haven't given yourself a good chance because you played Mr. Nice Guy and tried to please and all that has done is push you further away from all the things Tyler listed. All the masculinity, all the safety, all of the things that Tyler listed. So now you know better.
Yeah,
So you're going to give this a shot. And your answer still might be not that interested. I don't want to be close to you. And that's when, and hopefully it's not. Hopefully she's kind of like, hey, good job to go to the gym. Hey,
yeah.
dang, like he's a man of God. Whether I want him to go to church or not, he
Well,
goes. Like,
she won't
what?
say those things to you, even if she thinks those things,
Yeah, but
likely.
she might think those things though.
She drops little hints. She's not. I call it her pride, but whatever.
It's
She's
her
not.
job.
She's not saying these things outright. I'm proud of you because that was one of the things during the talk. I said I get like when I practice my music for Sunday. I said, oh, I get criticism. That sounds terrible. I just asked her. I said, what would hurt? Or just one time saying, hey, dude, that sounded great. Hard work, a lot of hard work. Good job. Instead of like a couple Sundays ago, I soloed on Veterans Day, played Star Spangled Banner at church on electric guitar. It was awesome. And her response when I told her, yeah, I'm playing on Sunday, I'm soloing the national anthem, and she said, well, good thing I'm not going to be there. I was like, really? And I think she came back from that a little bit because she had my son video it so she could watch it. And and then for this week was my birthday, and she hands me an envelope, and I said, "What's this?" She said, "I thought you'd get something that was meaningful and that you'd enjoy." I opened it up, and it was a gift certificate to the guitar store locally. And I was like, "You know what this means, don't you?"
Ah, hmm.
I said, "You know what this means? Now I gotta go spend it." She said, "Yeah, I realize it's meaningful to you." And I was like, "There's a crack. I'll take it."
There's some hope here.
Yeah, I was like, "There's a
There's
crack."
all sorts of hope
Because
here.
yeah, I mean, I'm taking this stuff and going, "Oh, it's hope. This wouldn't have happened a month ago." But
Yeah.
I think, like you said, I took some of your right. And I just stood up for little things that were meaningful to me. And she's begrudgingly giving me the nod towards it. That yeah, it's you're being I don't like what you're doing, but I commend you for it, kind of thing.
Buzz, let go of expectations and stay the course with what you're
Yep.
doing, and
Stay the course.
let's see how this shakes out. All right.
That's kind of what
Um.
I already decided,
Yeah.
is to just keep working on what's real to me, being the man that I think that I need to be and can be, to the
But
capacity that I can in the situation.
Buzz, you need to know that you are good just naturally. You're good at heart. I know you made mistakes. I know you've been a crappy husband in some ways and all those things, but you are one good dude. And I just hope that you know that you remember that. She doesn't define that. She doesn't tell you whether or not you're okay or not. And just remember that. And I really appreciate you coming on again.
Yeah,
It's
man.
been good having you.
You too.
Yeah,
Thanks so much, guys.
I
That's
feel it from you too, Buzz, and I want to because I'm the dude who always has the quotes and the poems. I'm going to give you one more from David Deida.
Go for it.
So, I agree with Brannon first, though. I just want to say that I can hear an intent in your heart to try to figure out your own self and your own masculinity. And right now, I'd say you're playing with house money because the old way hasn't worked. So you might as well step into this and give it a try and stay the course, knowing that you'll be a work in progress and you won't get it right every time. But practice it. So the quote says, "Your woman knows your weaknesses better than anybody. She knows where you will falter and where you will give up. She knows the degree of mediocrity you will settle for, and she knows your true capacity as a full man, a man of free consciousness and love. Her gift, if she's a good woman, is to test you with her darkest moods over and over and over until your consciousness is unperturbed by feminine challenge, and you are able to pervade her with your love, just
Dang.
as you are here to pervade the world. In response to your fearless consciousness, she will drench the world in love and light." That's the challenge there, buddy.
Yes.
You've got the perfect wife, man.
I love Dita, man.
Yeah, what is that book? Can you
The Way of the Superior
tag,
Man.
tag that in the notes or something? Because I'd
Yeah.
love to read that.
Yeah. Um,
Awesome.
Buzz, thanks again. Everybody who's listening, if this was helpful, be awesome if you go over to YouTube and leave a comment and just say thank you to Buzz. And until next time, keep on keeping on.
All right, guys.